Hi, everybody, and welcome to yet another amazing episode of the Alchemy Lab with me. I'm Colm Holland, and for those of you who don't know, but I'm the author of this book, The Secret of the Alchemist, and that's me, Colm Holland, down there. And I have an amazing guest. No, I'm not kidding. I have an amazing guest today. You're going to want this podcast just to go on forever. Don't stop, Colm, you're going to say, because my guest is Christina Helena. Hello, Christina. How are you?
Hi, Colm. What a beautiful introduction. I'm blushing.
No, it's true. And you've come, you're transmitting all the way across the Atlantic from New York City to me in Humboldt, England, over here. And you've given up your time today, so we're thrilled to find out more about you and more about what you're doing with your life these days, but also your story. So not, you, past, present, and we're going to think about the future, hopefully, as well. And all of us are going to have something to take away from that. We call this the Alchemy Lab because we are committed to talking about one really important topic, and that is transformation. So just as the alchemists used to try and believe that they could change lead into gold, which represented something worthless, something that we despise normally, into something that becomes our greatest treasure, we value more than anything else. I know enough about your life story that you've got a lot to say about your own personal experience of transformation and how that has illuminated your whole view of the world. So welcome. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
For those of you who have not encountered Christina before, she is in fact a very popular speaker. She's worked with some of the biggest corporates in the world. She'll probably tell us a bit about that, but she also writes. She is also a performer and also a coach. So one of the things that you say on your website, Christina, is that you're redefining, and I love this word, modernizing. I'm really going to have to get some more information on you on what that means. But modernizing the stigma behind trauma and pain with a simple thought, and this is amazing. Your scar is the sexiest thing about you. And I guess if that's modernizing, then I get it straight away. And I think lots of our audience listening and watching today will get that as well. For those of you who don't know, that when Christina was 19 years old, she became one of the youngest pancreatic cancer survivors. That is wonderful. But she was left with a 13-inch scar across her abdomen, and she knows the physical and emotional toll that our scars, not just physical, but also our emotional scars, place on our lives when they affect our self-worth and our ability, most importantly, to love or not love ourselves. So welcome again, Christina. On your website, you said that you were told you had 6 months to live. Wow. I mean, you were 19. That's too early in anybody's book. And you said to yourself, what do I want more? My potential or to run away from the pain? Would you like to elaborate on that whole situation for us?
Yeah, that's the universe calling there. So excuse the background noise. We're all, in COVID living. When I heard that I had 6 months to live, that was probably the most profound moment of my life thus far. I welcome perhaps a more profound moment to come, but that was the most truthful moment I've ever had in my entire life. Because as a 19-year-old, the one thing you don't think about is your death. You have your whole life ahead of you. You're an adolescent. You're also very hormonal. You're about to go to college. You feel like, yes, this is it. I'm getting my freedom. And I was in college at the time. So all those natural things that every 19-year-old should feel, I was feeling them.
Sure.
And I had gotten really ill over the last couple months, but it was a very faint symptom. I would get this chest pain. It would feel almost like acid reflux, and then it would go away. And like most 19-year-olds, I'm not going to think about it too much. But one night, it got really bad. It got so bad that the pain just knocked me out of my body. I was going to say literally, because I had an out-of-body experience and I fell to the ground. And cut to a few weeks later, because that moment was so profound for me that I thought I had this voice telling me, you're sick, you're dying. And if you don't do something about it, you're going to die.
Had you been to any physicians? Had you been examined?
Not yet.
Wow. Okay.
Not yet. So I left immediately from New York City. I went to where my family was and I started going to physicians. Nobody could seem to find it. Nobody could seem to find it. I went to about 5 physicians. Nobody could figure anything else out. And I had like a big standoff with a doctor because the doctor just felt that I was being psychosomatic and that I was making it all up in my head. And I can understand. I really, truly can understand why he would think that. If you were just going by the textbooks, yeah, it made complete sense that it was all in my head and I was making it all up. But that conviction of what happened to me that night, what I experienced in like the minute millisecond of, I don't even know what it was. Was it my soul? Was it my spirit? Was it God? Was it the universe? I don't know. All I know that it was so powerful that something inside of me said, you better listen. And that moment came up again in that doctor's office. And I said, I demanded, I shouldn't say I said, I demanded, because we got in a bit of a fight. I demanded a CAT scan and he wouldn't give me one.
Wow.
And ultimately we negotiated. I always find this funny. Me and this doctor are negotiating like, okay, well, give me a different test. Give me something. Give me something. I need something. And we negotiated on some other tests that ultimately disclosed that I had tumors all over my pancreas that had spread all over my abdomen, over 5 of my digestive organs. And they realized that I actually had pancreatic cancer. And the doctor said, wow, there's nothing you can do. You have about 6 months to live. So he gave that information to my parents, and I had been out for the day. I came home, and as soon as I walked in the door, my mom and dad just looked pale-faced, like death. And we're Greek. So when I see that look on the face, I'm like, okay, someone in the family died. And, you know, us like Southern Mediterraneans, we're like, we can be a little over dramatic and really passionate and love.
Greeks aren't the slightest bit over dramatic.
You know, love is like love to the fullest and death is death to the fullest. And we feel everything at such extremes. So my first thought was, and what I said to my parents was, who died? They're like, nobody died. And I'm like, then what? What's wrong? And my mom's like, come inside the house. My dad's like, come inside the house. And now I'm starting to suspect, no, this has to do with me. And my mom walked over to me and she said, the doctor called. He said, you have pancreatic cancer and 6 months to live. And I froze. It's funny. Every time I say that line, I freeze because it's like, I almost relive it. I can go right back to that moment because that moment as well has left a scar.
Got it.
Not just the 13-inch scar that I now have from the Whipple surgery that I had to have. But when I heard that, the most magical thing happened to me. All of a sudden, in my head, like, you ever watch like The Matrix and you're watching these like hackers and all this like equations on a computer going, you know, my brain was doing that. And like everything I had ever lived, everything I had ever thought, everything that had ever hurt me, like just the back files of my entire life started going down in my brain. And I almost like went through all the files of my life in my brain and everything that was unresolved that I didn't have closure on, or that I had a scar from, or I had never shared, or all the secrets I had never told anyone were kind of sticking out, boop, 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 like, and all of a sudden I start to see everything I haven't dealt with. And the first thought that I had is, I can't die. Because if I die, my soul will die unresolved. And I was more terrified of dying an unresolved soul, because I'm not really sure what happens to the soul after death. I don't believe that it dies. My own personal belief. And I felt, or I believe, that the best way to die is as resolved as possible. So whatever happens after my death, I can be as prepared as possible. Now that's the way I live my life, and that's my belief system, and that's what allows me to keep going. But that was really powerful and important for me. But it showed me, whether I wanted to see it or not, what was unresolved, all the traumas, all the scars that were just kind of being suppressed. And that's why I say it was the most truthful moment in my life, because it's very hard to be that gut-wrenching, truthful with your own self, to be that vulnerable, to see the wounds so directly.
Are you saying, actually, Christina, that, I mean, not all of us are going to face the truth that we've only got 6 months to die. Many of us will we will pass. It'll be in our sleep. We won't get the moment that you had of being able to review your life in that way and to see the unresolved things that needed to be resolved. But are you saying that even outside of a trauma of that magnitude, and of course we're all going to want to know what happened next, so we're going to come on to that next part of the story, that this is possibly something that we should actively pursue anyway, as part of our review of ourselves, of our self-awareness as we go through life, whatever age. You know, what about if we've never stopped and taken stock in the way that you were forced to take stock at the age of 19? I'm incredibly young, really. What's your view on that?
Yeah. You know, yes is the big answer. There's a part of me that's like, I'm not a fan of telling people how to live their life. I know that stopping and taking stock from what I've learned and what I've experienced and what I continue to do has allowed me to actually live my best life.
We don't mind you telling us, by the way. Please feel free.
You know,
on behalf of everybody, I'm inviting you to share that. Yeah.
I often say you can't bullshit the soul.
Okay, I love that.
And the reason I say that is because I'm a big believer that everybody knows their truth. It's whether or not you want to hear it and see it. Because if we hear it and see it, now we have a choice. We have to do something about it. And some people find comfort in being in a victim's mentality where there's nothing they can do about it. Oh. And some people find power and having the choice to do something about it, being proactive and actually changing their life. And I believe we all have that choice. As dangerous and violent and scary as our circumstances, because circumstances can vary dramatically.
Of course.
But we have choice. And even the choice just in our mind, right? We could be physically enslaved to something, but we don't have to be enslaved in our mind. So yes, I do believe that taking stock is really important. It probably will be the most gut-wrenching thing you will ever do in your life. It's brutal. It really is brutal. And the other thing that it is not quick. It's not quick. It's not immediate. It's not quick. It demands a commitment that is profound. It commands and demands a commitment that is consistent, and it will not tell you when it's going to be over. And that is the, it's kind of like, that is the beauty of, like, sometimes people say you have to actually do something even though you're scared. You have to do it afraid. This is the epitome of doing something afraid. You're going to have to keep walking down this road. It's dark and you don't know when it's going to end. But it will come to a place, I call it doesn't come to an end, because that's the beauty of what you learn as you keep going. But what I learned was, it doesn't come to an end, but at some point you start to fall in love with being on the dark road. because you know that walking down the dark road is helping you grow, become, continue becoming. And the process of becoming is never ending. And you start to fall in love with becoming more and more of your potential. And I would dare to say potential that you probably don't even think right now in this moment you could become.
Wow, that's incredibly profound. And I know that everybody's going to be rewinding. Yeah, no, everybody's going to be rewinding that last few minutes because they're going to want to hear that again and again, because that was beautifully put. I've never heard anybody say before falling in love with the journey on the dark road. I mean, in my book, I talk a lot about the dark road, the dark night of the soul, that journey within to those places that we would rather forget and move on from, but they have this nasty habit of reoccurring all the way through our life and not letting us go until we actually listen to them and face it. But falling in love with them is a great way, another way of saying what I say, which is allowing love to embrace. And that's not independent of ourselves. It's as we invite unconditional love to embrace those parts of ourselves, we are cooperating with that, and we are also doing it ourselves. Can you tell us what happens? So the family, you're in the house, you have this moment of reckoning. What did you decide next? How did you get from that moment to here you are today? That must have been a monumental shift. Something must have happened there.
Yeah, it really was. I mean, in the immediate moments, you kind of go into survival. You go into fight or flight. And I know I did, because that was the beginning of my time clock running out of time. Somebody actually pressed start on my time clock. You know, we all live as if we assume that we're going to live to 90 or 100, hopefully. And I always say anything after 70, 80 is fair play. And
I've got a little while to go yet.
You know, I definitely wasn't thinking at 19 years old, my time clock would start. No. And that really does something when you start to watch something run out of time. The immediate few weeks after, we're really busy looking for surgeons that would be willing to take me on as a patient, because I was one of the youngest in the world to receive a Whipple surgery. And I found a remarkable, profound angel of a human being who was my surgeon, who did a Whipple surgery on me, removed 5 of my organs, and reconstructed my digestive system for me to live. I will be in debt to this human being for the rest of my life. And, you know, I chose him. I knew he was the guy to operate on me when I saw him walking down this hallway. Oh. It was so wild. I had yet to even meet him, but I saw this man in this white coat, like a superhero, just walking towards me, and this energy, I was like, whoa, that's the guy. That's him. That's him. And I had basically in my mind agreed that he's going to do the Whipple surgery before we even spoke. And I was right, because I've learned to listen to those moments. You know, every human being's a genius. I really believe that. These messages are coming in when we can live with our soul instead of pushing our soul away. For me, it's the soul. For some people, it's instinct. For some people, it's impulse. Whatever you call it, whatever that resonates for you. When you can live with that and be partners, it's magic.
Yeah.
And it's easier.
Yes.
However, to be able to live with that ability to listen to those impulses and instincts, because sometimes they make no sense. Sometimes they come up and they're like, huh? No, this can't be right. This doesn't make sense in the world I live in. This doesn't make sense in the family I was brought up in. This doesn't make sense in the culture I'm in, right? You have to really know yourself. And that's why I feel it's so important to fall in love with walking down that dark road, because that dark road is going to give you and gift you the most profound most valuable thing you will ever have on this earth, which is an identity, a true, authentic identity of knowing who you are. Because knowing who you are is the most valuable wealth, I think.
No, it's more, no, it's true. Just for everybody, let's all agree. It's not just what Christina thinks, it's true. Because there are too many of us who agree with you, who know it's true. And, you know, some very, very learned people like Professor Carl Jung, for example, the father of psychoanalysis, along with Sigmund Freud. I mean, he would say exactly what you've just said, and you're saying it from your own authenticity, your own vulnerability. And I want to talk to you a little bit about vulnerability as well, because I talk a lot that our greatest treasure lives within our vulnerability. That it's only once we begin to open the layers of the defenses and all the structures we build on top of our vulnerability to protect ourselves. Those are the things that stop us from discovering the true self, as you described. So you had a choice. So surgery was successful.
Yes.
How long did it take to recover from that? Was that another year, or how long did that take?
Yeah, there were a lot of phases to it. I mean, it took me about 7-8 months to be able to stand up straight. I was pretty hunched over because, you know, they cut through across my entire abdomen, and it was really weird. I remember like the first moment I was like conscious in the hospital, I could actually feel what it feels like to be gutted inside. I was like, wow. It was so much soreness, but it took a while to be able to sit up straight again. And it took many years.
Wow.
It took many years to heal because, again, our bodies are perfect, right? It's a domino effect. Once you start removing an organ, yes, I can live without these organs. We didn't replace them. We didn't have time to replace them. I didn't have time to get on donor lists and wait for a new pancreas or wait for a new duodenum or, you know, the beauty of it is that my body adjusted and some organs were removed completely, some organs were removed partially, and what I managed to keep was enough to live. But it's a domino effect, right? You take out someone's gallbladder and some hiccups will happen. So there was learning how to deal with a lot of the hiccups, a lot of what I call the maintenance. But overall, I was in really good shape compared to a lot of people who get Whipple surgeries. I was in beyond excellent shape. I was doing very well, even with my little hiccups. It could have been much, much worse. And I would say it took about 6-7 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
But you went on to early stages of fulfilling your potential. So that decision that you made, do I want to live my potential or do I want to just run away from the pain? That and all the things that the inner workings of the soul that you described helped you reach that point. And then you went into corporate life, amazingly. Do you want to tell us a little bit of, let's talk about the more recent journey, because you were doing quite a lot of things with corporate America, and you have recently made another transition. So would you like to tell us a bit about that? And where did this, the sexiest thing about you is your scar. I want to see where that appeared in your consciousness as well.
Okay. So to answer your first question, I was a speaker in the corporate world and I really enjoyed it. I really love working with people and traveling and sort of meeting a lot of people. Being a speaker for different brands allows you to interact with a lot of different humans and allowed me to travel, which was really nice for me to, I love adventure. So it was nice for me to travel and see different places in America. But less than a year ago, I had an opportunity to do a Tedx Talk and to also speak at another empowerment conference where I actually spoke about my own personal story and what I've learned. And that really changed the course of my life and is changing. I'm still in that change of course right now. because it allowed me to become a speaker, a motivational speaker, and to start sharing my own personal story instead of being a speaker for hire. So that's been a really wonderful experience. And my TED Talk actually came out the week the United States shut down for COVID.
Oh, it's that recent. Okay, this is really hot news. Yeah, okay.
It's very recent, but I also found it very ironic because the title of my talk was Dear Unresolved Soul, It's Not Death You Fear, It's Life. And it was about this profound lesson that I learned from facing my mortality, that I wasn't resolving all those issues. Now, I have to cut myself some slack. I'm a 19-year-old. I have yet to even grow up to have an opportunity to face my demons, face my trauma, face my scars like an adult. However, even with that being said, I realized that I wasn't afraid of death. And I don't know that people are afraid of death. Death is inevitable. We've all accepted that it's going to happen. We've all negotiated with ourselves when we're okay for it to happen, right? Like, okay, death, you can come around 80, that's fine, 90, that's fine. Everybody has that different number, but it doesn't work that way. Death, she's not polite. She's going to disrupt your life. She's going to disrupt love that you have. She's going to disrupt joy. She's going to disrupt everything. And she comes unannounced. Because I always say death doesn't give a shit about your personal agenda. And I think we also know that. And that's what scares us about.
Okay. That's the bit.
That's the bit. I think that's what scares us about death. It's what scares us is that she does come unannounced. We don't have necessarily a warning. And the last thing I think humans want to lose is joy. Completely being sideswiped. So my talk is about this fear of death, and because we're so afraid of death, well, guess what, death, you're going to show up and you're going to disrupt my life. Fine, I'm just not going to live. So you have nothing to take, because to lose it is too devastating. It's like people who have trouble trusting and they never get close to somebody. Because what if I actually take the risk and get close and trust, and then you leave me? People are terrified of that. So as a form to never feel that devastation of being betrayed or being left behind and that pain, they just never get close. And that's the same thing I think we do with death. We're just not going to get close to living fully because it's going to be taken away.
You must have seen the film Meet Joe Black. Yeah.
So funny that you bring that up.
Why is that funny?
Well, for personal reasons. It's really funny because it's a really meaningful movie.
Oh, okay.
That I have had conversations and watched with somebody in my life that's really close to me. Yeah, but it's exactly like that movie. Exactly.
It's one of my favorite movies. It's a metaphor for exactly what you just said. Death arrives and we negotiate with death, and we have all these kind of conversations with death, and it's the inevitability of it that in that particular movie, death helps the victim to come to terms with, and gives him time as well, which I quite like. And we all actually have that time, don't we? We've got that time right now to sort all that out. And so maybe the fear of death is not dealing with the things that we want to deal with before death arrives, when in fact we could do that today if we wanted to. And we may never see death for years, but hey, that doesn't mean we can't have that conversation. Let's change the subject, if we may. Just let's move on. You, I am amazed to announce, have got an off-Broadway. Is it a musical? Is it a solo show? What are you doing in Broadway? Wait, what are you up to now?
Well, not on Broadway. It's off-Broadway.
Off-Broadway.
Smaller theater, and we're in the development phase.
What does that mean? Tell us what
that means. The development phase means that we have a script that we're constantly reworking. We do workshops of it. We test it out in front of small audiences. We haven't had like an official open yet because we work on the script and we're working on the design of the show. And it's a solo show. It's called Scar.
Wow.
And I play 40 different characters.
Oh my goodness.
So a solo show is when one actor takes on the entire play themselves. And sometimes it's just one character. Sometimes it's multiple characters. In my case, it's 40.
Oh my.
And I always joke, there's about 14 characters that are, lead actors, and then about another 20 who are guest stars who, come in for like a brief little short monologue, and then maybe another 3 or 4 who come in for one-liners, they're co-stars. And it's really been profound. It's been one of the most profound experiences of my life, because I decided when I decided to go down the dark road that we talk about, I wrote about the dark road. And part of my process of going down the dark road was through writing what was coming up, and expression and analysis. And that analysis and expression, because I'm an artist, became a play. And I wrote Scar during the entire time I was on that dark road.
Oh my, okay.
So it was really a really psycho-spiritual, physical, creative experience simultaneously together. It was delicious and horrible, painful, really painful. Like, I sometimes say, had anyone told me what I would go through to write this play, I don't know that I would have done it. So I understand that human natural desire to go, oh no, I'm not going there. I'm not picking that scab. I'm not opening up that wound. I get it. I completely get it. I feel that. But it will be the most profound thing you ever do in your life.
Yes.
Because it takes guts, courage, and bravery. And if you're one of those people that just said, but Christina, I'm not courageous, I'm not brave, because people often say that to me, I'm not as strong as you. Do you think I thought I was this strong? Do you think I thought I was this courageous or this brave? People say that to me and I giggle inside. I'm like, I'm not courageous, I'm not brave.
You haven't got a Wonder Woman suit on underneath that dress.
No, I don't. You will see bravery and courage is unveiled to you when you walk forward.
Yes.
It doesn't show up in your pocket and you're like, oh, from a 1 to 10, I'm at 8 at bravery. I'm at 8 at courage. Everyone's got it on their resume like a skill. Like, this is how great my courage skill is.
Or I've got my secret coward. I've got my secret coward vest on.
No,
I am a coward.
It doesn't work that way. You will be brave if you want it. And it's by far the most profound thing I ever did. I mean, of course, working with my director, deeply humbling and profound. He's an incredible artist, an incredible director.
So this is Larry Moss. Let's say it.
Yes.
Wow, amazing.
Yeah, this is Larry Moss.
Congratulations. What a treat to be able to do that work with him. Amazing.
Thank you. It really has been. It's been, for sure, some of the best years of my life to be able to create and to talk with Larry about philosophy and all these beautiful, meaningful themes. And
so presumably you
directed by him.
You can perform this during COVID situation as long as the audience is separated. It's not as if you've got to mix with other casts.
Yeah, I guess
no separation.
That's right. I suppose Scar is what we would call COVID friendly in the industry right now, because it's just one actress, and I suspect a pretty small crew. So yes, there's less people in the company, so we are a COVID friendly show, but we will, the theater industry is suffering greatly right now. It's really, really sad and scary for many artists. I know that a lot of artists are really struggling in New York, all over the world, also in London. And we just have to be patient and have hope that when We are post-COVID, that the pulse of the theater, it will come back.
Of course it will come back.
It's just a matter of how it will come back.
Yes, yes.
And that when it comes back, then I'm super excited. I cannot wait to start moving into the next phase.
Don't forget that once upon a time, back in the 17th century in England, there was a guy called Oliver Cromwell who shut down all the theatres for 20 years. There were no plays, so even Shakespeare's plays were not performed for quite a long period of time, because it wasn't godly, and he was a godly man. So yeah, we're really out of time almost. I feel like you've put me into
this is flying by.
I know, you've put me into a state of hypnosis completely. I could sit through your play and feel that it was, it's only just started by the time we get to the end, because you are such a wonderful presenter, and your expression is so authentic, because this is all coming from the heart, and that is everything as well. So this has been amazing. But I can't let you go until you've told me at least one ingredient that I need in this potion that I'm mixing up here.
Yes.
So we'll limit it to one ingredient. So the potion I'm concocting is something that will help me to know true self-love, which I feel you're going to know that one secret ingredient I need to put in this potion. What would you choose to put in it?
Non-negotiables. The thing that allowed me to stay on the road was, and I talk about this in my other talk, which is called My Scar is Sexy. The thing that allowed me to stay on that dark road and to keep walking forward is because I was walking to something that I could see at the distance. Now, I couldn't see where she was. I couldn't see how far away she was, but I could see what she was. And what she was the version of me that I wanted to become. Earlier, you asked me about My Scar is Sexy and where that came from. And My Scar is Sexy came from a moment in my life where someone in my life had said to me, who's going to love you now with a 13-inch scar across your body?
Oh, my goodness.
Now, to be fair, the person who said this was also young, going through trauma, had just faced my death, my mortality. We almost lost me. So they were reacting as well to a lot of trauma and a very scary experience. So I know, and I know this in my heart, my soul, it didn't come from malice. It didn't come from a place to hurt. It came from a place of, oh my God, that thing I said about the death coming and almost taking something away. This person experienced that and didn't know how to handle it. So was like, wanted to hurry up and grab it.
Yeah.
But let's put that person to the side. What was more important in that moment was that when that person said that, something in my brain said, oh yeah, that's right. Who is? And in that moment, another moment of truth, I saw myself. I saw my agreement with this other person's opinion. That's more dangerous than the other person's opinion.
Yes.
The second somebody else's opinion becomes your opinion, doesn't matter what the person said, you said it. And that scared me so much that I thought that about myself, that I had imagined this woman. And I joked that I had her on this pedestal, because I had her on the pedestal, not because she was like this like goddess, because she just seemed so distant and so hard to attain. Like I was like, how on earth am I going to become this woman I want to become? And she just like, I had her up there for years, but that's what I had at the end of the dark road. I put this woman that I wanted to become. And that woman was my non-negotiables. This woman is powerful and she's strong and she's unafraid and she knows herself and she's healed and all the things I wanted to be. And I put that at the end of the road, and my non-negotiable was that woman, and I wasn't going to stop until I became that woman. And that's what allowed me to keep going down that road, because when you're clear on what you want and what your non-negotiables are, life and universe is going to test you. It's going to try to derail you. It's going to try to get you to turn around and run back towards, well, I was going to say the light, but it's not the light.
No.
This is like a play on words, because running backwards, it's to the familiar, and it might seem the light because it's familiar, but the true light is the hidden light that is through the darkness. And that I felt was the most important thing that I did, was to stick to my non-negotiable of wanting to become this particular person, and healing and doing everything I had to do to become her is part of my secret potion that I think was the key.
Wow. I'm just blown away. Again, this whole episode has just been mind-blowing. If I'm going to modernize anything, I'm completely blown away by your insights, your self-love, your determination, your understanding of what it takes to be truly human and to enter into true empowerment. And you've read my book, The Secret of the Alchemist, so I'm sitting here going, yes, 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 yes.
Well, I was doing the same thing, reading your book.
Yeah.
Like, yes.
I've got a picture of me on the back. I would love to put a picture of you and say, look, go and be like her. Go and learn from this young lady who has understood.
I'll put a picture of me behind my book.
Thank you so much, Christina.
Thank you.
It's been more than a pleasure. It's been an enlightening, mentoring moment, I think, for all the listeners and for all the viewers. And I'm sure we haven't heard the last of you by any means. Please keep me in the loop about the play, the show. Really fascinated about that, and would love to know when that's coming available. Whether you do it in, just on stage, or whether you do it virtually as well, make it available virtually. That would be awesome for those of us that can't get to off-Broadway in New York. So thank you so much again. Thank you for giving your
so much, Colm.
time today, and thank you for inspiring us and leaving us with such a beautiful picture of what it is to be truly human.
My pleasure. Again. This is wonderful for me too. Thank you.
Thanks. And thanks everybody for listening. Thanks everybody for watching. And don't forget to miss our next episode right here in the Alchemy Lab. Thanks everyone.